Cheers to the one and only
Cheers.
legendary Leslie Nielsen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to do it.
Leslie Nielsen, the one and only Canadian actor, comedian, producer, died 10 years ago this month, and Cinema Gulp wanted to raise a glass and toast to the brilliance that is Leslie Nielsen. So once again, I'm going at it.
Yeah, one more time.
So welcome to Binge Drinking, the show where me and Devin binge watch a television show and have some cocktails while we talk about it. Pretty simple concept, pretty simple show. This time in honor of Leslie Nielsen, who we grew up with. I know he's already was a much older man by the time we were introduced to him, but he was such an influence in comedy. And that's why comedy, it set the bar so high back when you had that dry sense of humor from the Zucker brothers and people like Leslie Nielsen who played it so straight. And like now it's people trying too hard and it doesn't work as good.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right about that. Yeah, I mean, this stuff we grew up with. You know, first you had, I think Airplane and Top Secret.
Yeah, those are Zucker brothers movies.
Yeah, exactly. Both Zucker brothers movies, classic movies. That's when this kind of comedy was introduced to everyone.
You had your like zany Bob Hope stuff in like the 50s and stuff like that, but it wasn't like Airplane was the first one where you're like, how is this movie PG? This movie is dirty, but it was so smart. It was over the top, but it also went over people's heads, you know?
Yeah.
That's, you know, I mean, just the surely you can't be serious. I am. Don't call me Shirley.
Hospital, what is it?
Cigarettes? Yes, it is.
Calm down, get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
Calm
Calm down, now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you want it on the phone.
So let's talk a little bit about Leslie Nielsen real quick, and then we'll jump into the shows. I love this too because his mother was an immigrant from Wales, which is pretty great because I love it when he goes out. No, Dutch Irish.
Cuban? No, Dutch Irish. My father was from Wales.
And Leslie Nielsen started acting in the 50s. In 1950, actually, he appeared in 46 different TV shows in a year.
Yeah. What a long run he had.
Yeah, man. Really, you know, and he was a super beefed up, healthy, fit dude when he was young. He was kind of like a good studly looking guy.
Yeah.
Like I dug up some old pictures of him. He was kind of a badass. Like I could see why like after Poseidon Adventure and Forbidden Planet, they tried to kind of make him more of like a serious actor.
Right.
But the Zucker brothers just touched a nerve for him, and it was, you know, basically that's the deadpanness. I think somebody said, let's take this guy who's super serious. Let's take that deadpan thing at full value and put him in a comedy. And then from there, that was the show Police Squad. And then I think from there, he loved that stuff and just fell right into it.
Yeah, and that's all he did after that. I mean, he didn't do any dramatic roles after Naked Gun or Police Squad.
Police Squad, there's only 6 episodes. I love the story of the show because the show's just complete nonsense. I mean, it's just literally, you don't need to pay attention to anything except the sight gags, you know, but debuted in 82 by the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams. They're the guys that did, I mean, those 3 people that collaborated on that did shit. Naked Gun movies, Top Secret, the Hot Shot movies, Kentucky Fried Movie, they started the Scary Movie franchise, and even Basketball, which I actually think is funny. So then ABC cancels the show after fucking 4 episodes, and they eventually air the last 2, but there's no continuity to the episodes, so it's not like you're missing anything. But the thing that I found so funny was that the then ABC Entertainment president said Police Squad was canceled because the viewer had to watch it in order to appreciate it, meaning that the viewer had to pay very close attention to the show in order to get much of the humor, while most other TV shows didn't demand as much effort from the viewer.
I think that's true, though.
Yeah, but aren't you supposed to be watching it? Usually,
you should. I mean, especially for back when these were released. It's not like you had a cell phone you could just stare down and
There's nothing else to take your attention.
You should be paying attention back then.
You're watching Police Squad while cranking the giant calculator with the paper tape coming out of the back of it. You know,
they're right. If you're not paying attention, it flies right over your head.
Well, dude, it's 50% dialogue gags and 50% visual gags. I
Right.
put one episode on yesterday, and I went to my computer, started reading emails, and I'm hearing movements and stuff that's supposed to be funny, but I'm missing like all these gags because I'm not looking at it.
Yeah.
So I guess I see what they mean, but it sure worked for the movies, you know. But then again, when you're in the movie theater, you're kind of forced to pay attention. The show was so short-lived, but it really did like lay a pretty good imprint. And obviously 6 years, we got The Naked Gun. Couple people rolled over like from the show. The name Nordberg stayed, but obviously it was played
Just
by
the
O.J.
name.
Simpson, not this big oafy white guy.
About Mr. Murder.
Dr. Olson is the guy that's in the lab that always has the weird, crazy shit going on.
Yeah.
Like
He's like the guy that has all the nifty like MI6 fucking gadgets that like 007 would have.
Yeah, but in the
Anti-graffiti.
show, he's so much funnier and more prominent in the show because every episode, I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about things you can't do now, but every episode, he's dealing with like a small child and putting them in like literal deadly danger. It's really funny. Shows like Sledgehammer, and even recently Angie Tribeca, which I never saw, said that they drew inspiration and influence.
Dude, you're the only person I think I know alive who has ever mentioned the show Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer's
I used to
awesome.
love that show. No one else knows what the hell it is though.
Yeah, Sledgehammer was said to be sort of Police Squad with like a Dirty Harry vibe.
Right.
That's pretty much exactly what it was. So let's get into the show real quick. Super funny, super easy to binge because it's 6 episodes. They're 25 minutes long, no commercials. And right now you can find them on YouTube. You can also find them on a DVD pack. Joe Dante, director of Gremlins and The Burbs, directed a couple episodes, and those were my favorite episodes. The first one was directed by the Zucker brothers and Abrams, but you've never seen action scenes as poorly done or as fight choreography. It literally is so bad on the show. And you're like, yeah, they probably, first of all, it's super cheap. The movie had no money. I heard there was like even only a certain number of prop guns. So people had to like only have certain guns in certain scenes.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be like a casino, and then it'll be a woman's bedroom, and then it'll be the police station. It's all the same soundstage.
Yeah. Yep.
You know? And then the outside, you only ever see like these 3 corners of the city, and it's all just soundstage. You can see it, you know, like
Right.
so when you see like the fight scenes and the gun scenes, obviously I love the gun scenes, the gunfights, because one's behind a trash can and the other behind a park bench.
Yeah, they're like 5 feet away from each other.
5 feet away.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the show, though, and the movies, is that it's so ridiculous. It's funny. You have to laugh at it.
And also, the show had a lot of tropes that followed over into the movies. Like every time Frank parks a car, he either hits trash cans, or he hits another car, or he hits a cat.
Or his airbag blows up and drives away.
But the one thing that did carry over was when they throw a shirt and he goes,
like it's attacking you. Right, well, it's the things like that. It's the little bits like that that are funny. It's like you wouldn't. No one would think of that. You know, it's ridiculous and it's fun. And
yeah,
it's fun.
and you know that executive was right though, because like this show is so full of hidden gems. Like as you're watching the show, things in the background are happening, or when they're panning through a shot, things are happening. Right. You know, like there's one episode where they're at a gym and you see everyone hitting speed bags, and then when it comes to like the big heavy bag, they have this fat guy tied up and they're just hitting him like a bag. But it's not prominent. It's just like panning across it, you know? It just happens.
No, just quick, subtle things that you can easily miss.
This might be my favorite opening credit scene of any show ever. Not just because the car is, you know, that legendary siren and then but I just love how they, you know, Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin, and then Rex Hamilton as Abraham Lincoln, and he turns around. Abraham Lincoln is like shooting his gun, and Mary Todd's got her hands on her face. And then they always cut to and guest starring, and it'll be like William Shatner, and then William Shatner just gets shot. It always says guest starring in the credits, but the person never actually guest stars on the show. They die in the credits.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant, man.
It is. It really.
And then like tonight's show is called
Tonight's episode, A Dangerous Assignment.
It never matches.
And it might maybe for only guys like us who grew up with The Naked Gun and those other Leslie Nielsen movies, because I doubt not many people know who he is these days. But
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody maybe I'd say like 35 and younger, maybe, or
Yeah.
maybe 30 and younger. I'm sure there's
that
people
sounds about right.
yeah, because he was still doing like Spy Hard, and
Yeah,
like,
and Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
which has one very funny scene in it, though. I will say, there's the scene where they stake the Nina chick in the coffin, and it just sprays blood.
Oh my God! So much blood!
After the Naked Gun movies, I lost interest. I wasn't a fan of Spy Hard and Dracula, Dead and Loving It. I was actually pretty upset with those movies.
Yeah, I never saw Spy Hard. To me, I think he was cashing in paychecks at that point.
Yeah, and we can't blame him for that. Shit,
No.
I would too if I were him.
But I think he feels the same way you do. He was kind of over it.
Yeah.
You know, like he was kind of stuck in that spot. I don't even know if he ever tried to get serious work.
Well, because at that point he was pretty much typecast. He was like an Al Bundy. No one's gonna hire him for a dramatic role.
No,
you know?
because you can never take him seriously again.
Right,
He's playing
never.
Drebin for
Never.
the rest of his
And
life.
part of the reason for that is because he delivers these ridiculous lines with a perfectly straight face, perfectly composed. It's amazing.
He's so good. Yeah, he's so good
Yeah.
at doing it. I think it was like Roger Ebert or somebody said once, like, if you take Frank Drebin out of the Naked Gun, because Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel loved the 3 Naked Gun movies, which surprised me. He had said, like, if you take Frank Drebin out of those movies and put him in a serious movie, it would still work.
Right.
Because he's playing the situation so fucking straight that, like, it's everything around him. I mean, but he is too. Leslie Nielsen, his facial expressions are just fucking legendary.
Dude, his delivery is flawless. Like, he should have been a stand-up comedian, because it would be funny as shit to hear him spout this ridiculous shit with a straight face, like live. You know what I mean?
There's so much stuff in the TV show, especially because that was even earlier in the 80s, that was just so fucked up and racist and sexist and like disturbing, dude. Like, what is it? Episode 5 of the show, 2 thugs. One of them, by the way, is John Astin, Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop. 2 thugs walk into a ballet school full of little girl children and beat the shit out of the ballet instructor woman, and the whole thing is played for laughs. These 2 guys just beat the shit out of this woman in front of these kids, and it's played for a joke. Episode 3, when people are like, let's go take our drinks out to the Japanese garden, and they go out there and it's just Japanese kids standing in pots. What the fuck, dude? I would say almost everything that the scientist Mr. Olson does in the lab is fucked up. When I was watching that, I don't know about you, I was cringing. He has a little kid strapped to a chair that he's going to do this electrical experiment on. He's like, Sally, I can turn you into a light bulb. So he has her hold this light bulb, but he puts a fucking electric chair electrocution thing on her head. And it's always like Frank walks in right before he's about to do this horrible thing.
Or the part in, what was it, 33 and a Third, where he's giving that speech at the end there at the Grammys or the Oscars or whatever, and he's like, I want to be able to walk into a 7-Eleven without an interpreter. You couldn't say that in movies these days. Someone would sue you.
There's a line in the show where someone's walking up to him and it's supposed to be this person's just hearing the end of his conversation, and Drebin's going to this guy, he goes to this woman, he goes, and that's why women can't play professional sports.
Yeah, if you had the woke audience watching that shit.
Yeah. It was not made. It was not made for 2019, 2020 woke people.
No.
Probably one of the reasons that we had the Me Too movement. The Naked Gun, the first movie, God, it's still one of my favorite comedies ever. I think the first movie, like the imprint it put on me, the fact that I can quote every line of it, it's so rewatchable. You know,
The imprint. You're right about the imprint. That's one of the. I mean, there's a lot of great 80s movies, but as far as comedy goes, Naked Gun is probably the one that stands out the most. There may have been better comedies, but you know, we have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and great stuff like that. This was a different brand of comedy, and it just stuck with you.
Yeah,
Date movie and
like epic movie and superhero movie.
Which maybe it wasn't the best thing that could have happened,
But that was
it was
when
inspirational, though.
That's when it was self-parody. It was like a double negative at that point. It was like those movies were so unfunny, but they thought they were funny because they were making fun of other movies, but they were ridiculous. Give me any joke from The Naked Gun. Give me nice beaver. Thanks, I just had it stuffed. Over a fake Paris Hilton walking and someone gets crushed by a piano next to her and she goes, "That's hot."
That was one of the great things with Leslie Nielsen is he didn't have to try.
Yeah.
He just did his thing, and it was funny as fuck.
Going into the sequels, I like them both. I like all three Naked Gun movies. I really do. I don't remember that much about the second one, except maybe the sewage plant and the fact that O.J. Simpson was dancing around like one of the three amigos.
I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it.
I love it.
I haven't had this much sex since I was a Boy Scout leader.
I haven't had this much sex since I was a Boy Scout leader.
The second one has its upsides. I just think it's maybe copying the first one a little too much.
Yeah, a little too much. Like you said, I agree. All three are great movies.
Like, what's her name? Priscilla Presley. What's her name in the movie?
Jane.
So Jane in the second one, once again, is working at some low capacity for the villain. Couldn't come up with something else.
That one had some small hidden parts in it that if you weren't paying attention, like I'm talking about like a second long thing you wouldn't hear or see. There's a particularly funny fart scene in it. I had to watch it probably 10 times before I even noticed it was even there.
Oh, I love it when in the show, like they have the boxer and he's got a bodyguard at the door and they're like, you can't go in there. And the guy's got guns strapped all over his chest and he's holding a dynamite.
No entry. Press. Oh, okay.
And then when the cops go there and investigate, they're like, we think this is a suicide because they hung what was left of the guy's corpse to make it look like he hung himself. But the whole place is clearly blown up. To me, they gut bust me, man. They gut bust me, you know?
Oh, yeah, because you're not expecting it. And then it's just this dumb, dry joke, and it kills you, man. It's great.
I miss Leslie Nielsen. I know I hadn't really thought about the fact that he'd been dead 10 years, and it kind of surprised me when I looked that up. I was like, wow, it's 2010? Wow. Right. You know, and I don't really recall keeping up with what he was doing at his oldest age, you know.
Did he have white hair his entire life?
Yeah, if you look at the pictures of him in the 50s, he had like super white hair. Anyway, let's give a cheers to Leslie Nielsen and to The Naked Gun and to
Absolutely.
Cheers, buddy.
Oh, there we go. Salud.
All right.
I wanted to talk about part one, the first movie, because that was when I remember when that movie first came out. What was it? 87? 88. That was the funniest shit I've ever seen. You know, it was a whole new brand of comedy. It was amazing. I remember watching it over and over and over again and quoting it with my friends in elementary school.
Yeah.
But now I watched it not too long ago, and it's still funny, but it lost a bit.
Well, now it's really dated and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're older. We have it's a different brand of comedy. We have, and there's new comedy now, but it's still a classic, though, man. I remember that Devin he's disguised himself as Enrico Palazzo, and he goes out to sing the national anthem. And the rockets red glare.
That's right. A
bunch of bombs in the air. That shit still makes me bust up, just like it did back in '88. They're showing over when they have the commentators on the game. They're up in their little booth up there, and they're doing their thing, and like they're showing clips of crazy things happening in the game, and a tiger runs out and just
the tiger, and then the guy goes up for the home run ball, and his head falls off and like goes over the wall.
Flies right off.
Priscilla Presley was great in it. She was super hot. I love how just dumb she played. She just fell right into just being a dumbass.
Right? She did a good job on that movie. Yeah. I've never seen her in anything else, but.
Would you like a nightcap? No, thank you. I don't wear them. I think one of the best parts that I didn't get as a kid, but they're walking out of Platoon and they're laughing like they just went to the movies. Yeah. They're cracking up, and then it pans up, and they just saw Platoon.
Right. I love Frank Drebin's when he's in his head talking. You know, he's not really speaking the movie, but it's just in his head. He's like, like a blind man in an orgy, I was going to have to feel my way through.
Yeah.
I just come from the stockyards. We've gotten reports that hundreds of cows had been senselessly slaughtered in the area, but I couldn't find any evidence. I stopped off for a hamburger and checked in with headquarters.
And if it was, did he know about it? And if he didn't, who did? And where the hell was I?
Let's go into the third one a little bit as far as like the reason I remember it more than the second one is because it's not quite as similar as the first, where it's got like, you know, they have to take Frank out of, I love it that he's like retired, but he's kind of like the housewife.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like they got to like take him and put him like undercover in jail or something.
Yeah, in jail. And he's got Fred Ward in there from Escape from Alcatraz. That was great, man. There were some good scenes in that when he drops the soap. There's that big dude. Yeah, and he's getting all hot and bothered over Devin being in prison. He's ready to fuck this cat. He's got fucking, remember the music starts playing and he's brushing his teeth with a toilet bowl fucking brush. He's fucking eating like fucking some kind of potpourri spray. He's like, mouth. Yeah, he's Nick the Slasher McGurk.
Is that his name?
Yeah, that was his name. Nick McGurk. Yeah,
you gotta think Fred Ward.
Where's your prison number? Yeah,
I love Fred Ward in this movie. He just goes all in. He goes so in that like they do probably the dumbest joke I've ever seen in any Naked Gun movie, and that's the Beavis and Butthead laugh.
Cool.
Yeah.
I get why they did it. It was 1994.
How about Anna Nicole Smith?
Well, hello. Since we're talking about part 3, probably the most memorable scene in the movie is when he's watching her undress, and then that little wrinkly thing comes out. Or it's actually pretty big, but you know.
It looks pretty firm. I don't know about wrinkly, but
well, they're not supposed to bend quite like that, but I think that's the joke. You know,
I've never seen an angle like that.
It looks like Dirk Diggler's at the end. There's not as quotable of lines in the third one as there are in the first and probably even the second one. But there's scenes. I remember even the untouchable staircase scene, which was like the Odessa steps in Battleship Potemkin, one of the first movies ever made. Like, so they took that and then they made that. It was used like, because you remember that scene in The Untouchables where Andy Garcia and Kevin Costner have to save that woman's like baby carriage that's falling down the stairs while they're fighting Al Capone. Yeah. So in this one, they parody that whole scene where Frank's just at the bottom of the stairs, like catching babies and shit. Yeah. I love these movies.
Classic, man.
I love the show. I love the movies. I love Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen is the best, man. There's never going to be anybody like him again.
I don't think there will be, man. There's people that'll try. No. You know, there's people that will try. They'll get that deadpan thing, but they won't be able to pull it off.
No.
Because you got to get a guy later in his career who's been trying to play it straight and be serious forever, and then somehow convert him over to comedy, but have him keep exactly what you like about him the same.
Right. And have it work.
If you can do that, you have yourself a Leslie Nielsen. You know, that's pretty much what he was.
Yeah.
Plus, he was just charming and clumsy and buffooned, you know, like there was just so many great things about him. Here's to Naked Gun, here's to Police Squad, and here's to the late, great Leslie Nielsen. Thanks so much for joining Devin all the way from Colorado Springs and myself here in California on another episode of Binge Drinking. I'm Ben.
And I'm Devin. Leslie, we love you, and we drink your cinema.
I drink it up!